Okay, so I know when I'm mad, I don't say a word. I sit there and I'm silent the entire time because I'm just plotting something. Their quote by Marvel is, "People who make no noise are dangerous," which is true because I know when my friends are mad at me, they just stare at me and I'm awkward because I know if they're not mad at me, then they're just running their mouth and talking. But as soon as I do something and they're silent, I know something's going on and that they're plotting something, that they're going to get me back or something. The second one is, my aunt gives the meanest silent treatment. If I walk into the house and she's mad about something, my grandma will kind of give me the look like, get out while you can, because she'll sit there and you can just tell she's angry. And it's the scariest thing in the world. And the third thing is, I'm not weird, but I was taking a nap the other day and I woke up to a biography of Jeffrey Dahmer. So I was watching it, and turns out that he was silent and he really wasn't open, he wasn't talking or anything like that, and he turned out to eat people. So I do agree with this. People who make no noise are dangerous because you never know what they're doing. People who are talking seem a little bit more open and, oh, okay, I can trust them. But people who are silent, you have no idea what they're thinking about, and that is really scary. I got my point across.
All right, well, the personal statement at the beginning about how you act, I thought that was a good, effective attention device, and it makes a nice transition to the quote, so we then know what your point of view is there. At that point, there's not really a preview of what the content is going to be, and in fact, it felt a little bit like you were going back to the example of your own experience again, but then it turned out that you were actually talking about your friends, and that appeared to be the first of the supporting points. So structurally, it was a little bit awkward at that point. I couldn't tell that you had actually started the speech, and you weren't still in the introduction of the speech. So there needs to be a clear transition when you go from the introduction to the body of the speech, and a preview will help you do that too. Once you got to the second point, though, about your grandma, I said, okay, the first point was friends, and then it's your grandma, so I'm writing those things down as I'm going along. So it's a little bit easier to pick out. Same sort of thing, though. You want smoother transitions there. All of your examples are fine. You just need to give some details and examples. You got to have a story to go with those things. You just say your grandma's this death ray eyes kind of thing. Have you got an illustration of something that you did where you got in trouble for this, and you got the stink eye from your grandmother, and you knew it, and everybody else knew it for for instance, maybe somebody commented on it, or one of your friends when they were giving you the silent treatment, what were they giving you the silent treatment for? You know, tell the story about it. If you know what, if it wasn't an audience sitting here and you were on the phone with your friends, you'd probably have no trouble talking about it. But because it's an audience, people suddenly become a little self-conscious about maybe sharing too much. But that's what's going to make it interesting, is that there's some story to it. I like the idea of the Jeffrey Dahmer thing, and I don't think that you're weird. You know, people watch those kinds of shows all the time. I might think it was weird if you recorded it and watched it over and over again. That would be a little bit weird. But when you say, you know, he was one of those quiet types, that's about as much as you say about it. What did they say in the story? Did they have any, like, none of his neighbors had ever knew him? You know, when they went back and talked to people that he went to school with, they barely remember that he was in the classroom. It appears, you know, he had a job, or he had a series of jobs, but he never made any friends at any of those places, and nobody remembers anything that he said in the time that he was working there. And in fact, once he was in court, you know what? He only said 3 words while he was in, you know, the whole trial process or something. I mean, there's got to be some detail. You watched the story. I didn't. I'm just making stuff up. So, you know, you got to be able to relate some of that stuff that you're talking about there. So I like the examples that you had. They just needed a little bit more detail, needed to be more interesting. On the delivery, I think you've got a lot of things that work well for you. First of all, I think you've got a good ebullient personality to begin with. You're one of those people that can talk and, you know, smile and enjoy other people's company. It seems to come across pretty effectively that way, so that helps you. I think your voice projects really well. You've got a lively kind of voice. It does sound a little bit like you were rushing, and I'm not sure if that's an anxiety thing or if you were just, that's just the way you are all the time. You talk, I won't say 100 miles a minute, but, you know, 65 miles a minute. You know, it's a little bit faster than I think is necessary, and it seems to be, like I said, a little bit anxiety reflecting. So that part's good. Your facial expressions, you're also animated. Like I said, you look lively while you're talking to us, like you're engaged. Unlike right now where you're giving me the stink eye. There, that's a little bit better. And I thought you had good eye contact with the audience as well. Your gestures, you don't really have gestures. You are stroking the topic. It's like you've got that, it's like Dr. Evil kind of thing. And so, you know, we've got this topic and you're doing that sort of thing while you're speaking, and you want to be careful about that. That seemed to be the one place where maybe your anxiety was coming out. And we got all of this commentary from a pretty short speech. You know, it was only a minute and 30 seconds. But your posture was good where you were there. You came back to the point that you were trying to make at the end. So I thought you did a pretty good job, even though there's more that I think you could have done with it and made it a little bit more memorable. All right, thank you very much.